test this, check this, listen to the 40 for your next shit. Flexes, FF is what they obsess with. Checklist complete, I guess you can't best us.
We are back. Welcome to another episode of the Fantasy 40 podcast. This is our Week 3 preview for fantasy football goodness. Myself, John DeBari, my co-host, Mr. Matt Walker, and calling in from the road, Andrew Burke. Gentlemen, are you ready for Week 3 if you have any non-injured players to plug in your lineup?
Oof. Few things. One, if Week 2 was a bloodbath, who knows what Week 3 is going to be? And after the recording that we just did, hits or misses, I'm scared to speak right now because there's nowhere for me to go but down from here. There's no way. The bar is too high. This is like Olympic gold medalist pole vault shit right here for me. So I might just be sitting on my hands a little bit during this episode. Fuck that. No, I'm going bigger. I'm going to go bolder this episode, and I'm just going to hit it out of the park. We're going to dive right in. 1 o'clock games. We're going to hit it hard. We got Burke. We got Burke on the road. He's feeling more aggressive than ever with his takes. We're going to have him. We're going to have him for the whole time. He's got 2.5 hours to kill. He's not dipping out early. So we're going to get through this whole slate. Full Fantasy 40 Week 3. Tons of injuries. Tons of new guys getting kind of sprinkled in. Whether you lost CMC, Saquon, Mostert, Sutton, is Devontae Adams' injury worse than they let on? Did you lose Drew Lock, Jimmy G? Did I miss anyone else of consequence?
Yes, there's a million. There's literally, it keeps going. I can't even think of them. We're absolutely going to say to start somebody who's fucking hurt because there's too many to even count.
Yeah, okay, yeah. Malcolm Brown got hurt. Cam Akers got hurt in the Rams game. So, yeah, more guys. Like the hits just keep on coming. There's probably more guys that dinged up. I know Josh Jacobs was on and off the field all night on Monday Night Football, gutting it out for that impressive Las Vegas Raiders win that, John, you and I said that the Vegas Raiders could outright win that game as well. We didn't even touch that on the hits or misses, and we definitely said take them with the points. So, oh, man, we are el fuego, my friend. But, yeah, tons of injuries. So let's dive right into it. 1 o'clock. Sundays, we save Thursday for the end. We are recording on Tuesday, so we're going to get this out this week. So we're going to talk about the Thursday game. Still going to save it for the end. But Sunday, 1 o'clock, Los Angeles Rams head to Bills Stadium to face 700 passing yards in 2 games, Josh Allen. How you guys feeling about this?
Looking at a total of 47.5, so they're expecting some points. Buffalo is a small home favorite, 2.5. So if you give the 3 for home, actually the Rams, on a neutral field would be a half-point favorite. Should be fantasy goodness. I mean, according to the numbers here.
Burke?
This is a tough one. Isn't it John that always says traveling to the East Coast with the West Coast team is not ideal? This I don't know, man. I got to check the weather, honestly, see if we're going to get some more storms out there. Because if so, Josh Allen's thrown for 500 this week. But,
it's natural progression, right? Yeah.
Right. 3, 4, 5. But, running back situation is quite murky. You got Darrell Henderson slated right now to get all the work for the Rams. I don't like that so much. But I say you still roll out with John Brown, Diggs, and Allen out of that game and feel pretty comfortable about it.
Yeah, it's usually the other LA team that has trouble traveling west to east. It's those Chargers for those 1 o'clock games that are usually dinged. I'm curious, the Rams played the Eagles in Philadelphia, whether they headed back home or whether they stayed East Coast. I know the 49ers stayed in West Virginia at the Greenbrier after they played the Jets because they're heading right back to play the Giants at MetLife. So they stayed on the East Coast. I wonder if the Rams did the same. I don't know the answer to that. They'd be smart to do so they didn't have to go through that time zone time change. But this is going to be an interesting game. What I will say is through 2 weeks, the Buffalo Bills are only allowing 75.5 rushing yards per game. But conversely, they have played the Jets and the Dolphins. So I'm going to expect bigger and better things from this LA Rams rushing attack. And Burke, as you said, unlikely to have Malcolm Brown or Cam Akers in this one. Darrell Henderson is happening in week 3, folks. John said we're going to say some names in week 3 for you to start. and it starts right here. Start Darrell Henderson. He will be a top 15 running back in week 3.
I think Buffalo trounces them. I don't think Allen has as big as game as he had the last 2 weeks. I think he kind of comes back to earth a little bit. I do like a lot of the stuff in the Rams secondary. I think it's going to be a little bit lower scoring than it's predicted here, but I think Buffalo, I actually like Moss and Singletary in this game. I like their running backs more than their receivers.
Yeah, Miles Sanders did well running against this Rams front, and I think Buffalo will want to run the ball as well. I'm wondering what Jalen Ramsey and Tre'Davious White will do to these primary pass catchers. More Tre'Davious White. Is he going to be on Robert Woods? So is it going to be another Cooper Kupp game, roam in the middle, another Tyler Higbee, presenting as a mismatch for the Rams? Who's Jalen Ramsey going to be on? Is he going to be on the Stephon Diggs? I would assume so. If so, that's where my eyes are going to be all game. That's an exciting matchup because Stephon Diggs exploded last week. So I think this is going to be a high-scoring game. I don't think this is going to be a low-scoring game. I do like the offensive options here. Don't know who I take in the game, but you're not here for our bets. I wouldn't really be shying away from any offensive options. Anything else?
For me, I like Moss and Singletary. I think they're both absolutely in play.
Yeah, they both sucked last week against the Dolphins.
Which a good DFS play. People are going to pivot away from them. Short memories for that. They sucked against the Dolphins. So I can't play these guys. I wouldn't be surprised to see Singletary get a lot more work, maybe get in the end zone, get a little more passing game action with, the cornerbacks tying up their wide receivers.
Yeah, sucks all relative. Devin Singletary had 12 touches for 76 yards. So, on a per touch basis, he was great. Just didn't score and didn't get a lot of touches because Josh Allen was too busy slinging it 50 yards in the air downfield every shot he got. So it's going to be a good game. 1 o'clock. Excited to watch. Next up, we laughed about this last week, John. We're going to laugh about it again. Houston, 0-3 Texans. Head.
It's a beautiful thing.
Heinz Ketcher Field to lose to the Pittsburgh Steelers at 1 o'clock. Give me the details.
Total's 45, so pretty middle of the road. Pittsburgh somehow is only 3.5, some places 4-point favorite at home. I like Pittsburgh to win this by the combined score of murder. I don't see how they don't kick the shit out of them. Defensively, Pittsburgh's just too stout. Houston's projected to score 20 points. There's no way I see the Texans getting to 20.
Burke, before you chime in, there are a few things that I wanted to note in this game. And it is one, Will Fuller got hurt and left the game. So that's another injury. So you want to check in on that. Another stat.
Surprising.
No, unsurprising. Is that the Steelers currently are first versus the run. The Texans are currently 31st versus the run. And Bill O'Brien is soon to be 0-3 on the season. Those were the 3 stats that I wanted to make sure that we touched on in this game. Anyone not obvious here? We said Fuller's hurt. We going Brandon Cooks? He had a good game last week against a stout defense.
Where's Coutier at?
On the bench.
Yeah, in the cemetery where he belongs. It might be – this could be a Randall Cobb game.
Yeah, Cobb wasn't bad. 5 for 59 on 6 targets last week, but Cooks has 5 for 95 on his 8 targets. Led the team without Fuller in there. Those are going to be the top 2 guys that we're looking at. Your boy Jordan Akins, 7 of 7 for 55 yards. They're going to need to throw the ball to move it. Pittsburgh is not going to let David Johnson run the ball. They do not give up the run. The Texans are not a good run-based offense. It's all going to be through the air. So who is it going to be? They're going to get yards. They might not be effective doing it. The only way they're going to move the ball and score is through the air. So who's going to be the beneficiary?
I'm going Randall Cobb and Darren Fells. That's not going to be anybody. I don't think it's going to be anybody good. I think Pittsburgh's going to be able to shut down the good players and say, look, if you want to beat us, try to get Darren Fells in the end zone 3 times. Good luck.
You brought up Jordan Akins. That's who I'll roll with because, like you said, Pittsburgh's got the best defense in the league. I'll go and say that right now. At least through the first 2 weeks, they look incredible. So he's not going to have time. So the first read's going to be probably Akins winning the game. So that's who I would think.
Yeah, and Fant went 4 for 57 and a touchdown on these Steelers just in week 2, and that seems more of a Jordan Akins profile than a Darren Fells profile. So I'm with you, Burke. I think this is an Akins game. He's more the athletic guy. On the Steelers side of the ball, it's all the obvious. I mean, unfortunately, James Conner busted a big one and cobbled together a good stat line. He's going to do it again because the Texans aren't good against the run. 31st, it's going to be another James Conner game. He's going to string it together. If you own James Conner and James Conner puts together another big game, I'm not looking at the rest of the season schedule. I'm telling you, sell super high on James Conner because I think you can cash big on him if he ends up putting up another 101 touchdown or 120 and 2 touchdown type game. I'm diversifying. I'm getting out of James Conner. I'm trying to get 2 running back assets and moving on because he's going to get hurt again. It's going to happen. And I'm not saying Benny Snell's the answer because I don't believe he is either. But get out of the James Conner game. But he's going to have another big game here. Who's the wide receiver to start in Pittsburgh? If you had to pick one guy, who is it?
You know who I'm going with. Deontay Johnson. He's emerging. I called it, in the offseason. I said he's going to be we did our bold prediction show. I said he'd be a top 12 wide receiver. He's getting the work as Ben gets more comfortable with him. He's the NFL separation king, and that guy is going to be open a lot and going to get a lot of points. And Juju is still going to draw top corners. So all the Deontay.
Yeah, I mean, the good thing is that Houston doesn't possess top corners, so
Correct.
It doesn't really matter which one of them's trying to cover Juju. I'm still team Juju, but doesn't mean I'm anti Deontay Johnson. I think they can both eat. Let's cool it on the Chase Claypool Jets here. He had one deep bomb. He still was barely playing any snaps. The dude, give it time. He's not. It's just like the James Washington argument from week 1 where he muscled his way into the end zone. Like, these are ancillary guys. It's still Juju and Deontay Johnson. Those are the ones you want. I'm still standing for my boy Eric Ebron. I guaranteed a touchdown in week 2. I'm still here. I'm not going anywhere. Eric Ebron, touchdown in week 3. He's finally going to get the monkey off his back and score against the Texans.
As much as I was just ranting about Deontay Johnson, that's kind of more of a season-long take. For this week, I wouldn't be shocked to see Johnson or Washington kind of pop and have a couple big plays in this one, maybe get in the end zone, like a two-catch, 80-yard, one-score type of a day.
Yeah, nor would I. Burke just had to tap out on us, probably hit a dead zone, so we're 2-man weaving it right now, and we are moving on. We touched on this team as we embarked on this episode, but the 1-0 in John's backyard Las Vegas Raiders, 2-0 overall, head to New England, Gillette Stadium, to face the Patriots for a 1:00 start after a short week. That's rough.
48 total, one of the highest ones on the board this week. Might be the highest without skimming through it real quick. New England is a 6-point favorite at home. I'm a big believer in letdown games, and they had this huge emotional Monday night game, first time open in the stadium, underdogs. They end up beating, the Saints of all teams. They're going to come into this New England game flat as shit. New England doesn't have the firepower to really blow them out of the water right off the bat, but I think New England over time just grinds the shit out of them. I think it's going to be a big adrenaline dump for the Raiders after that win. So I like New England at home. We've mentioned this each week, and we will continue to do so. It's Cam or bust. There's not going to be much here in the passing game to get excited about. The running backs are all getting vultured by Cam Newton, so I'm fading all of them for fantasy outside of Cam. For the Raiders, there's enough to be concerned with. I mean, Jacobs was a little banged up. I don't think there's anything official on him yet. Wide receiver-wise, though, I kind of like what I saw from Brian Edwards. I wouldn't be surprised to see him kind of take a step up here because New England's going to do their best to get Waller out of the game plan. So I like Brian Edwards to finally have a little pop, little fantasy-relevant day.
I'm with you. A short week, 1:00 game, heading to New England after New England just lost to Seattle. New England wants to string, or Las Vegas stringing together these long drives against the Saints. New England isn't going to allow that. And they were running that cover 2 to keep the Saints from going anything over the top. If they try and do that against Cam, he's just going to eat them for lunch. So you see Paul Gunther just trying to adjust to that. But I like New England. I like the points. It is Cam or bust. Let's go Cam Edelman or bust. I'm not trusting a single other entity in that offense, but he clearly there is a vibe quick between the two of those. I mean, Edelman was gas, and they were still like, get back on the field. There is nothing else in this entire offense but you. Like, Cam will have to run it if you're on the sideline. He will not throw it to anyone else if you're not out there. And he's just peppered him like in must-have situations. It didn't matter. Like, Edelman's double covered. He's still firing it in there in those goal-to-goes. It's Cam, Edelman, or bust. That's all we have. Hopefully Josh Jacobs is fine because – we're losing bell cows by the day, and we can't afford to lose Josh Jacobs. He's shouldering a load for those Raiders early on, so don't consider me concerned. But as long as he's active, you're starting him. Darren Waller, absolute beast. You would have to think Bill Belichick is going to do everything in his human power to relegate him because that's what keeps that offense moving is Darren Waller. So make Derek Carr beat you with someone other than Darren Waller. Make him paper cut you with Hunter Renfrow. Make him hit you deep with Henry Ruggs. Make Brian Edwards be a thing. Like, that's how the Raiders lose, and I do think the Raiders do lose the game. So not a lot of fantasy to be had in that game. Burke, you agree?
100%. I mean, for God's sake, Zay Jones made an appearance last night, so you just don't know if you shut down Waller, who's next in line. But I'm going to keep not that I'm rolling them out, but once they get on the same page, man, Ruggs is wide open. He just can't make the throw.
Oh,
all right, listen. Sooner or later,
we're like,
sooner or later, Henry Ruggs is going to happen.
That's true. Say it every week. You will get it. Really.
Yeah,
hey,
not a game you want to focus on for fantasy purposes. Moving on to the Tennessee Titans. They disappointed me, and they withstood the Minshew mania to defeat Gardner Minshew and hand him his first and possibly only loss of the 2020 NFL season. They'll head to the utter disappointment that is the Minnesota Vikings in U.S. Bank Stadium for a 1:00 game. Give me the stats, John.
Let's get to one important thing here. Minnesota, this is it. Season's on the line. This is a win or your season is over. 0-3, they're not in a position to even think about the playoffs if that happens. 47 is a total, 2.5. Tennessee is a road favorite. Look, I listened to last week's, and I just say this every week. It broke. These games are gross. Last week they did score a little bit more than usual. It's two teams that want to run. Minnesota's going to, try to stick to that now that they're back at home with a shitty start to the year. This is going to be super low scoring. I think that doesn't even come close to the 47.5 here. And I think it's ugly. Every Tennessee game, I'm going to say, it's going to be ugly. And it's going to be Minnesota's only projected to score 22, Tennessee's 24, so should be close. But I like the running backs. Give me King Derrick Henry as long as he's out there, unless he's the next guy to get murdered. And then Minnesota, Cook, unless, of course, he's the next guy to get murdered. So I like the running backs. I could see Madison getting some, touches in relief that are decent for fantasy. But I don't, Thielen's going to get peppered for Minnesota. I don't trust anybody else in the passing game. Tennessee, Brown is going to be out again. Corey Davis probably could have another good game here. So Corey Davis is the only guy I'm interested in on Tennessee, with the exception of the backfield. And Minnesota, kind of same thing, Thielen. So give me the wide receiver ones and give me the running backs.
All right, let's temper expectations. Corey Davis' good games now consist of 3 for 36 and a touchdown. Okay,
but he's number one in Minnesota's second.
Oh, no, he's not. As I've told Twitter countless times, the wide receiver 1 in Tennessee wears number 81.
Wow. Okay.
And his name is Jonnu Smith. I said Mo Alley Cox just hung 5 for 111 on these listless Minnesota Vikings in week 2. Enter Jonnu. You think what he did in week 2 was impressive? Oh, he is going full skull you-know-whatting on these Vikings in week 3. Jonnu Smith's most impressive tight end in all football. I said it. It's on. It's out there. It's in the public consciousness.
I got
most impressive tight end in all football.
Crazy question for you.
All football, John.
Would you roll out
NFL.
Jonnu against Minnesota this week,
Yes.
or Mark Andrews on Monday night against the Chiefs?
I answered it already.
All right. Very good.
Yeah. And I love Mark Andrews.
Me too.
But Jonnu is DK Metcalf level freaky.
He is good.
He's unbelievable.
What's your prediction here? Are you saying tight end 1 on the week?
Yep.
Attaboy. I'm in. I'll buy that.
It was tight end 1 last week. It's not even bold. I'm just like, run it back. Check the tapes, dude. Like, let's go back to the draft. Let's talk about every year since. Like, this is just the natural progression of things. Welcome to the 40. We love Jonnu Smith. He's amazing. Let's go. It shouldn't have taken A.J. Brown getting out of the way for Jonnu Smith to happen. It shouldn't have taken Delaney Walker to get out of the way for Jonnu Smith to happen. This has taken too long, in my humble opinion. Jonnu Smith is freaking amazing, and he is just going to explode. He might do the same thing he did in week 2, just right off the bus, 70-yard catch. Yep. Because you can't cover him. He is like Darren Waller. He's just too big and fast. He's a mismatch wherever you put him. You want to put a safety on him, he's too big. You want to put a linebacker on him, he's too fast. You can't cover him. So scheme him open, Art Smith, score touchdowns, keep me happy. End of the day. Jonnu Smith, tight end 1.
I think we're all in agreement.
Yep.
Jonnu was a beast.
Other than that, start the running backs. Get out of this game. Right, John, bench Kirk Cousins in your Scott Fish Bowl. You just can't absorb another one of those 20-point games.
Wentz, too.
Yeah, this might be a start the defenses game. Tennessee against Minnesota. I mean, that might be the call. All right, that game sucks. And outside of Jonnu, we don't want anything to do with it. The next game, I don't know, it's getting really much better. The Washington Antonio Gibsons. That's what they should change their name to. I'm gonna petition Twitter right now when this podcast is over. Head to Cleveland to face the somehow 1-1 Cleveland Browns at First Energy Stadium.
Washington has a list of concerns. Somehow, Cleveland is a 7-point. The Schneider cheerleaders thing. Cleveland is a touchdown.
Tip of the iceberg.
Huh?
Tip of the iceberg.
Yes, exactly. That's the smallest problem they have. Cleveland is a touchdown favorite at home against the football team. I don't get it. I don't understand it at all. Cleveland has done nothing to ever lay 7 to anybody. So I love Washington getting 7 points on the road. Cleveland is more likely than not to disappoint, as we've seen for years and years and years. So this is a pretty interesting line to me from a gambling point. For fantasy, nobody here jumps off the page, really. I mean, the Browns are going to get Chubb and Hunt involved, both. So the one league where I had both of them, I actually traded Hunt a couple weeks ago. However, you can roll all season. It looks like you're going to be able to roll both running backs out confidently without sweating it. Beckham has the good game, the bad game. I'm scared. Baker doesn't look that good, and I'm scared we're going to see on a week-to-week basis. So the passing game here, I'm staying away from until we get a bigger sample size. It's just is spooking me a little bit. For Washington, our guy Gibson finally got in the end zone. I think as they get a little bit more familiar with him and what he could do on the field and his strengths and weaknesses, I think they could scheme a little bit more and get him involved. I'm a big fan of that. And I love me some Logan Thomas this week. I think he has a big game. Cleveland's pretty soft against tight ends. He got the targets, didn't do much with them last week after his decent showing in week 1. But Logan Thomas is a tight end I'm pretty confidently rolling out this week.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, John hit every aspect of that game on the head. Baker looks like shit to me. So You know, I got Hodel in a lot of redrafts because no one wanted him, just probably for that reason, and got lucky last week with the early score. I mean, it's going to be a coin flip between him and A-Rob, who I'm going to roll out next week. So I don't feel confident in Baker Mayfield at all. He just does not look good.
Yeah, listen, they don't want to throw the ball. They want to get up. They want to run. That's what they were able to do against the Bengals. That's what they're going to be able to do against the Washington football team. It's going to be another establish the run, Nick Chubb, Kareem Hunt game. Hopefully, on the Washington side, they can keep Antonio Gibson involved as a pass catcher. They have not really been able to do so thus far, even though that is a skill he possesses. John referenced Logan Thomas as a pass catcher. He didn't really hit this past week, even though he did get 9 targets for them. He was only 4 for 26. The Washington football team, hopefully better days are ahead for him. Terry McLaurin is obviously in must-start territory. Not much else to see here. You're not starting either of those quarterbacks. So another kind of dud game. Burke, that hurts. You're talking about having Beckham and Allen Robinson, and really not excited to start either one of those guys. That's
how the mighty have fallen.
Yeah,
It's a shame.
Two alphas. Yeah. All right. Redemption. Thy name is Cincinnati. The Joe Burrow-led Cincinnati Bengals head to Lincoln Financial Field to hopefully give my Eagles their first win of the season at 1 o'clock.
Boy, this is an interesting one. Cincinnati is a 6-point underdog with a total of 46, so they're predicting a 26-20 game here. Your Philly guys look terrible. Walk. I'll let you go first. What's going on here?
Sky's falling in Philadelphia. It's everyone's blaming Carson Wentz. Everyone's saying that Doug Peterson is, in over his head, taking over all the play calling duties. Everything's going wrong. Just some unforced errors. Miles Sanders coughed the ball up early in that game. Carson Wentz forcing throws. Defense just doesn't seem to be communicating. Just made it way too easy on the Rams. I do think they get it right. The Bengals aren't a team that should be able to click on all cylinders and take advantage of Eagle mistakes. I'm going to say that Wentz goes 280, 2-0, no turnovers in this game. They're going to trust Miles Sanders. He got 20 carries in the game. He's going to put another 100-yard, 1 touchdown, 30 receiving, maybe another touchdown on the books. I think they win comfortably by 10 at the end of the day. I do believe this is finally the A.J. Green breakout spot. Other than Darius Slay, we've had a tough time containing wide receivers. And Barrow has just missed A.J. Green countless times. And I don't believe it's been A.J. Green's fault. It's going to happen, so why not happen against – I love A.J. Green. Why not happen against my Eagles? So I'm calling A.J. Green, and maybe it's not a smash spot. Maybe it doesn't even qualify as breakout, but I'm saying floor 80 and a touchdown for A.J. Green in this game. Probably like 6 catches, 80 yards, and a touchdown is his floor in this game because I think they're going to be chasing points and not really sure that Darius Slay is going to be shadowing him at the end of the day. But other than that, you're going to start Ertz. Goddard kind of came back to the pack, but it was an ugly game for the Eagles, all things being considered. So outside of Miles Sanders, really wasn't much to trust last week. So we'll see. I don't really know what to tell you.
Yeah, pretty unexciting for a game probably before the year you guys were looking forward to as Eagles fans, like an easy win probably coming in here, and now it's kind of scary. Yes, Cincinnati.
Listen, we also thought we had an easy win in week 1, John. So
also true. The Bengals. I've said it all along. I think Burrow looks good. It looks better than I thought. But I just don't like the coaching staff there. And until they're gone, similar to what we see with like the Jets, I just don't see a lot of fantasy goodness here coming out of the Bengals. And for Philly, I think the Bengals are pretty trash against the run, and I agree with you. I think Miles Sanders is going to have a pretty nice bounce-back game here.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, Walk. It's not too late. I know you're all in on the Bengals. You might as well just, switch over, go get your little Tiger jersey, and throw it on.
Listen, I can have fantasy allegiances and real-world allegiances. Yeah, so I still want my boy Joe Mixon to finally get off the bus. Put that 100 and a touchdown on the ledger this week, but lose by 10. It's fine. Okay, do it receiving. Comeback mode. Catch 5 or 6 passes like you should. Use them right. Stop throwing the ball to Gio at the end of the day. Not much more than that. Drew Sample is going to get peppered with targets as well. Now that Uzoma's out, he's another guy to get. We're talking about a get off the Gronk thing. Any other waiver wire guy, Drew Sample's a better tight end to have the rest of the year than Rob Gronkowski. It's really that simple. Barrow likes the tight end. There's no one else. Literally, there's no one else left in Cincinnati than Drew Sample. Moving, yet another 1 o'clock. John, there's actually more 4 o'clock games this week.
Oh, there's 5 this week, I know.
All right, so you're getting spoiled. But we still have 2 1 o'clock games. The
Correct.
San Francisco 49ers head back to MetLife Stadium, begrudgingly.
The Injury Bowl.
to face the New York Giants this week. So Nick Mullins, Jordan Reed, and Jerick McKinnon head to MetLife Stadium to beat the Giants this week.
Yeah, this is just the Injury Bowl. Total of 41, lowest one on the board. Niners are a 4-point favorite on the road. Giants lost Barkley. The Niners lost, from the looks of things, everyone. This is a big Jerick McKinnon day. Jerick McKinnon will be a top 12 fantasy running back this week. The Giants are scrambling, trying to figure out what they're going to do. There's no reason the Giants aren't just going to, whatever running back they trot out, you want to try to beat us with him, go ahead. They're going to do everything they can to stop Daniel Jones in the passing game, so I don't like anyone in the passing attack for the Giants. And the Niners, I think, won easily on the back of Jerick McKinnon.
I'm going to go out and say the running back's going to be Devontae Freeman this week for the Giants.
It's possible. It's likely.
Yeah, I heard he reported he visited him. Hasn't signed yet. Even if he does, he's not going to get a big workload. Just signing with them. They'll activate Wayne Gallman, and he'll split with Deion Lewis if they don't sign Freeman. If they do, maybe he gets 10 touches. It's not going to matter in this offense. No Saquon. You just don't really want anything to do with that backfield. Sterling Shepard's hurt as well, so we're condensing that passing tree again, John. It's going to be maybe a little Golden Tate. It's going to be your boy Darius Slayton and hopefully Evan Ingram. There's just, even without Saquon back there, less people catching the ball. It's going to lead to increased opportunity for the guys that are left. On the San Fran side, you can fire Jordan Reed back up again this week because they're not going to let Kittle play on that turf. I don't care if he travels back to visit to be with the team this week. They ain't letting him play, especially when Garoppolo's not out there. So you can fire up Jordan Reed. I think Jerick McKinnon does have top 12 upside, but I think Jeff Wilson's going to get most of the carries. I think McKinnon's going to kind of be that change of pace back for them. They're going to let Jeffrey Wilson be the primary running back for them. They'll probably elevate your Michael Hasty at the end of the day, and they'll cycle through 3 backs like they even did this past week.
We joked about it last week. We would say Garoppolo's going to throw the ball 10 times, and 8 of them are going to be to running backs. It's going to be similar with Mullins, I think. They're not going to pass the ball a ton here again, and I think a lot of it's going to go to the backfield, and that's going to be in a McKinnon sweet spot. I think, I don't disagree with you with how the carries are going to get split with him and Wilson, but I think the receptions are going to carry McKinnon for fantasy.
Agreed. All right, that game's going to suck too. Just like the San Fran against the Jets game sucked. I mean, at the end of the day, there's so many injuries, interwoven into that game. The last 1 o'clock game, the Chicago Mitch Trubisky-led 2-0 Bears head to Atlanta, hot Atlanta dumpster fire to face the Atlanta Falcons at the Mercedes-Benz Stadium. And I just wrote, only in Atlanta. Berk, how you feeling?
I've got a fun stat. You want to hear this fun stat about Atlanta? This ties into your Cowboys last week. The Falcons, 39 points, no turnovers. In the history of the NFL, going into last Sunday, teams that scored 39 without turning the ball over were 440-0.
Only Atlanta. There it is.
Yep.
My God. So the positives on the Atlanta side of the ball is Calvin Ridley and Matt Ryan, especially Superflex. Got to roll out both of those guys. Matt Ryan, obviously, for the quarterback. But running backs, like Walk said in previous episodes, still can't trust Gurley there. And I don't know, man. Atlanta is just a mess. They wish this COVID's probably over, so at least you can go there and get a $2 hot dog out of the stadium, when you got your home games. But other than that, man, what a shit show they are. I feel bad for them if you're a Falcons fan.
Dude, they just been snake bit since they choked it away against the Patriots in the Super Bowl. I mean, it's literally just been a cavalcade of injuries and just like epic fails for them. Like they just can't get out of their own way at the end of the day. But I think this game's going to be I think like a sneaky firefight because Atlanta is not going to let their foot off the throttle this game. Like I think they have to come to the realization like we have to score infinite points, infinite. Like nonstop, never stop points. And it's not as easy to come by against Chicago, which is going to force Mitch Trubisky to put up points, which hopefully leads to Allen Robinson putting up points, but who knows anymore. So I think there'll be points to be scored in this game. Where it's going to come from is anyone's guess. I would run David Montgomery back, especially with the litany of running back injuries that are going on. I would start David Montgomery over Todd Gurley this week if I had that decision to make in fantasy.
Yeah, I think Dan Quinn is still a good coach. I think the Bears don't deserve to be 2-0. The Falcons probably don't deserve to be 0-2. I think this is a get-right game for the Falcons. Chicago comes down there. You had mentioned it being a firefight, and the Bears are going to try to hang in it. There's absolutely no way Mitch Trubisky has the fire in him to hang in there and stay in the game if that's what it turns into. So I think Atlanta actually beats the dog shit out of the Bears here. They're not a huge, favorite. It's only 3, but I could see them winning by 14 easily. And Trubisky throws quite a few picks. We had mentioned going into the year, Atlanta, we think they're going to throw the ball a ton, well over 600 attempts. Do you know what Matt Ryan is on pace for right now?
700 attempts.
720.
It's not enough. Yeah. They're proving it every week. It's not enough. Like literally his arm needs to be on the turf at the end of a game. For them
that is also true, but yeah, I think I don't think the Bears are bringing anything defensively that's going to slow them down. So I think the Falcons put up a ton of points. I think the Bears get massacred here, and I think we see Trubisky revert to his old Mitchy Mitch ways of trash that we've seen the last couple of years. So I actually like all the Falcons, and I think they get a big enough lead where they force Gurley the ball. I kind of like Gurley to get some garbage time points here. The Bears, if it does get into a shootout, I could see Cohen catching a handful of balls out of the backfield, but I'm not interested in any of the Bears here because if I thought Trubisky could complete the ball, I'd like Robinson, I'd like Anthony Miller, but I don't think they can, so it kind of spooks me a little bit. If I had to pick somebody, I think Miller's going to be the beneficiary.
John,
what about your guys, Mooney?
Yeah, he's coming.
It's Walker's guy.
Yeah, full Mooney ride. The Atlanta Falcons are on pace to give up 624 points this year. Now, I know it's been against 2+ teams in the Seahawks and Cowboys, and the Bears don't qualify, but this Falcons defense stinks again. So Mitch Trubisky might not be the one to enter into a firefight, with the odds in his favor, but the Bears are going to score points on this Falcons defense. It's going to happen. It is.
Two shitty things collide, and one's got to come out. I'm betting on the Falcons this week and not Trubisky.
Yeah, well, 80% of the public is on the Falcons minus the 3.5 is what it looks like. So what does that tell me?
That tells me to take the Bears.
Yes, it does. All right, moving on. We're finally into the 4 o'clocks. Yeah. Carolina. No CMC, no chance. Heading to the SoFi Stadium to face off against what should be the Justin Herbert-led LA Chargers in the first of 5 4 o'clock games. What do you got, John?
Total of 44, middle of the pack. Chargers are 6.5-point favorite. This quarterback thing with the Chargers is really conundrum, for lack of a better term. If they had a bear back there, I love them. Tyrod is a game manager, but he's also not good at it. So, it really scares the shit out of me. If Carolina didn't suck so bad, I would have no problem going with Carolina here with Tyrod in the back. But Carolina cannot stop the run. I just don't think Eckler's going to get the passing game work from Todd that we saw finally when Abe Hare got back there. So I actually like Josh Kelly a lot this week. I think Kelly gets in the end zone at least once. I think Kelly ends up going over 100 yards. I think we have a little Joshua Kelly breakout party for the Chargers. Other than that, Mike Davis, what are you doing with Carolina? That is a scary prospect. The Chargers defense is good. Their secondary is good. Even DJ Moore. I'm fading all the Panthers this week. And Chargers, like I said, I don't know what I think of the wide receivers, but Tyrod does like to target the tight end. So I like Kelly this week, and I like Hunter Henry.
Yeah, it's almost like the Panthers are the new tanking for Tua squad, or not squad, Trevor Lawrence. Excuse me, that was last year. But, I like Keenan Allen still, either whether it's Tyrod or Justin. What's with you guys with the French accent? I thought it was just Herbert. You guys, I like the Herbert, like Coutier. Are we a French podcast now?
We do what we want.
I love it. But, yeah, I mean, the Panthers, that's why I was kind of fading DJ Moore and all these redrafts at the beginning of the year. I love him, but Teddy Bridgewater is not the answer.
No, he's not. I still don't understand the contract they gave him. I never will. But, he can be a good transition plan for whatever rookie they hopefully do bring in to lead this Matt Rule offense. And I would love to see one of these, whether it be Trevor Lawrence, whether it be Justin Fields or Trey Lance land in Carolina with that offense. But the Chargers defense should be able to minimize a Christian McCaffrey-less Panthers offense. I mean, it's just going to be ugly. I agree. Big Joshua Kelly game. I'm saying 2 touchdowns for Joshua Kelly, whether it's Tyrod or Abe, and hopefully don't go back to Tyrod, as I said earlier. Just move forward with Herbert. If you know what's good for you, I do think the Panthers get demolished here. But DJ Moore's still going to get his. I think it's time to put some respect to Robbie Anderson, too. 2 100-yard games back-to-back. They're going to be in catch-up mode all day long. That's just going to yield results at the end of the day. I think he goes for a third 100-yard game at the end of the day. So DJ Moore and Robbie Anderson are the only 2 things I'm trusting in that Carolina offense at this point in time. Second 4:05 East start. The New York Jets head to Lucas Oil Stadium to face off against Jonathan Thunder Taylor and the Indianapolis Colts.
We are a firm anti-Jet podcast as long as Gase is there, especially one of the lower scoring games, totals only 43. However, the Colts are a 10.5-point favorite, which is not unusual, but doesn't happen often. So the Colts are looking at 27 projected points, while the lowly Jets are looking at 16. So that's the lowest on the board. They're gonna struggle to get to 16. They'll be lucky to get to 14. The Colts, they lost Paris Campbell, another one of the injuries we forgot to mention. Yeah, Jonathan, fire up your Jonathan Taylor. Did Nyheim Hines get hurt? I couldn't find out why he didn't get involved at all.
No, his fantasy owners did, though.
Yes, we did.
Yes.
Nah. They weren't trying to come back all game, so it equaled no Nyheim Hines, which is
that could be the case again this week.
Going into the season, I said if they're not trailing, Nyheim Hines isn't playing, and that's exactly what it was. He's only a pass catching back. They're not going to use him. They didn't throw the ball to any running backs. Jonathan Taylor didn't catch the ball last week either against the Vikings. When they're winning, it's run the ball. That's it. Run the ball, manage the game. When they're losing, Nyheim Hines will be in play. So when they're projected negative game scripts, when they're getting points, start Nyheim Hines. They're odds-on favorites, i.e. against the Jets, don't start Nyheim Hines.
Yeah, this could just be a monster Jonathan Taylor game. I mean, just the way it's –
I would start Jordan Wilkins over Nyheim Hines, literally. If I had to make a secondary Colts start running back, I would start Wilkins over Nyheim Hines in this game.
Yeah, the Jets are smashed with injuries. It's actually quite disgusting. I think their top Perriman's hurt now. Crowder was hurt. Their number, Mims? He's also hurt. Le'Veon Bell is hurt. It could be a Herndon game just because he's the only guy left.
No, Gase won't let it happen. He hates him.
I don't disagree. I'm saying there's no one else left in the world. So I wouldn't start him with confidence, but that's the only guy on the Jets I would possibly entertain the thought of playing. And same thing. I like Rivers, but I think they do end up getting to a lead early here, and I don't see him being very volume dependent. I could see some maybe red zone, a little more Alley Mo Cox work. But yeah, this is
Mo Alley Cox. Respect the man.
What did I say? Alley Mo?
Don't Alley Mo Cox him.
I said I'm an idiot.
You definitely, it's Mo Alley Cox.
Believe me, I'm fully aware. I'm just a dummy. But yeah, I love Taylor here. Everybody else, it's going to be spread around quite a bit. So I don't know where the fantasy goodness is going to come from outside of Taylor just smashing.
There is a single New York Jet you can start, and his name is Braxton Berrios. And it's because he's the slot receiver in an Adam Gase offense, and that is always 100% a thing. And you can start him, and I guarantee you can start him in a PPR league, and he will produce for you.
I'll go a little bold. Jonathan Taylor will be the RB1 this week. I don't know how bold that is.
That's exactly what I was just about to say. Besides that, there's a changing of the guard. T.Y. Hilton, and his age looks like it's starting to catch up with him a little bit. I haven't been watching the Colts too much, but what about Pittman? You think he can step in and catch a few balls with all these injuries?
He's the next guy up.
It seemed like it was more Zach
Pascal,
right? Yeah, it was more Pascal. No, it was actually more Pittman, but it was all Cox. Hey.
All
right. Hey, don't look for pass catches in this game. It's literally going to be 35 carries for Jonathan Taylor. All right, this, if it wasn't for Monday Night Football, would be the game of the week. And it's Andrew Burke's Dallas Cowboys head to CenturyLink Field to battle John DeBari's Seattle Seahawks. I'm just going to back out here, guys. Have fun.
Totals 56. Implied totals pretty good. Seattle's got 30, and even as an underdog, the Cowboys are looking at 25. So there will be plenty of points to be had. Seattle secondary, although it's got some names, has given up quite a bit of volume. This is, fire up everybody. I played David Moore for the Seahawks in a lineup last week. He got in the end zone. Could see it happen again this week. Obviously, Lockett and Metcalf are the 1 and 2, so you could play all three of their receivers. Dallas, you're obviously able to play all three of their top receivers. Tight end, I do like Schultz. Seattle, going back to Greg Olsen, new thank you, as we learned last week. But if you're desperate, the points are there. Someone's going to get in the end zone. And running back, obviously, Zeke does Zeke things week in and week out. But I didn't see the production from Pollard I wanted to see last week and what I thought was a plus matchup. So that's not coming to fruition like we had hoped. And Seattle, it's the Chris Carson show. Week 1, he looked good in the passing game. This past week, he looked good in the running game. Everybody in this game is good for fantasy.
Yeah, I agree. Carson even caught that wheel route for a touchdown as well. I think it's just going to be going back and forth. I think they're on the low end of the spectrum of points. I could see them putting up, as a unit, Seattle and Dallas, at least 15 more points than what the projected total is.
John, this could be,
yeah. Yeah, I was gonna say you kind of covered everything. Roll out all Dallas receivers because one of them's going off, and then the other ones will go 4 for 64 or something, which won't hurt you, but won't win you any games either. Tight end, I'm staying away from Schultz because that is one of Seattle's strongest things is their linebacking crew. So I'm fading Schultz here after the decent week 2 he had and rolling out Zeke. But quarterbacks, you're safe with either. Russell Wilson's got nine touchdown passes in 2 weeks. Expect probably 4 to 5 more. He's playing lights out right now. And Dak, if they get close within the 2-yard line, he's running it in. So I'm just fading Schultz here.
In all that goodness, hold on. In all that goodness, you both were mentioning Chris Carson. If he doesn't catch that wheel route at the end of the game, that 18-yarder, he had a dud. And I said he wasn't going to be that good against the Patriots. He didn't even have before that, it was 18-yard touchdown. He had 90 total yards and no touchdowns. It would have been a dud game for Carson with all that explosion because they're throwing it all the time. And all his production in week 1 was catching passes. I'm concerned about Chris Carson. They're not doing that well running the ball. They're they're doing it through the air. So if he's not catching touchdowns, I'd be a little concerned about Chris Carson, to be totally honest with you.
But for this week, they're going to have to throw it, so it works out. The funny thing, like, this is obviously a good game for fantasy, but this is the kind of game where what kind of analysis you're going to give. This is almost the opposite of the real dog shit games where we try to skip over and we're like, nothing here. This is easy. Play everybody, play everyone in this game.
Yeah. How about this analysis? Zeke could have had 4 rushing touchdowns last week, easily.
Boy.
How about that analysis?
Yeah.
So, yeah, fire up everyone. My analysis is this. It's a question. Who's going to cover DK Metcalf? Because if Stephon Gilmore can't, there's not a man alive that can.
That is correct.
Yeah, you're 100% right there. And, I mean, Calvin Ridley's no monster, a great route runner. We can contain him. Julio would have had a decent day if he wouldn't have dropped the touchdown from Russell Gage on the wide receiver pass. So, I mean, there's some question marks like there always has been in Dallas' secondary. So Lockett, like John said, David Moore, but definitely DK Metcalf. I'd probably expect another huge game, probably a 50-yard bomb. If you get bonus points in your league for 50-yard touchdowns, you're going to probably get one with DK this week.
Yes.
All 6 wide receivers can have a single touchdown in this game.
This is true. No one considered a stretch. All right, let's pick up the pace. We're rolling long here. Detroit heads to State Farm Stadium. Yes, John, I did verify that it is indeed State Farm Stadium to face off against Kyler 2020 Lamar Jackson Murray, who I'm now deeming all threat. That's my nickname for Kyler Murray now. All threat. Like it or love it.
I get it.
He's amazing.
Somehow this game has a total of 54.5, which I don't think Detroit is going to start scoring. Arizona's projected to score 30, while the Lions are projected to score 24. Not that I think the Cardinals defense is amazing and will easily stop them, but there's just nothing. Detroit looks terrible. They're all out of sorts. Patricia and Gase are neck and neck, and who's going to be fired before we even hit November. So I'm not interested in any of the Detroit guys, really. Galladay should be back, which could change things for him. But, this thing's kind of been lingering. And do you trust him week 1 coming back from the injury? I certainly don't, because nothing else on this team has stuck out for me so far. So I'm scared as shit about playing anybody from Detroit. For Arizona, they're going to keep throwing the ball to our man, Mr. Hopkins. So obviously you're playing the stars here. And Kenyon Drake, I don't know if you saw his tweet about if you guys don't like what I've done for you for fantasy, go ahead and trade him, and I'll win a championship for that guy. So I like that he's getting into the fantasy trash talking as a player a little bit, but I like Drake. I like Hopkins. Kirk kind of came to life last week, but I don't trust him just yet until I see a few more games with the personnel I have now this year. So I think this goes under the total. I don't see how either team gets to what they're projected.
I wonder if Kenyon Drake looked at their schedule the next couple of weeks where they go against versus Lions, at Panthers, at Jets, at Cowboys versus Seahawks going into the bye, and wants that team to drop him in his league so he can pick himself up.
True.
Because I agree with him. He's about to go off. Arizona is just going to boat race him. I did read that they expect Kenny Galladay back for this game. So maybe we're going to hear a report of a new contract as Burke is scouring Reddit for why he's holding out. But they need him back because that offense is missing a key component, and they just can't keep pace with what Kyler Murray's doing in the desert. For Arizona without him. TJ Hawkinson's still a must start. He's been a key piece of that offense thus far. They're spreading it out far too much with those running backs, keeping them all involved right now. So it's a start none in Detroit. You can fire up Kenyon Drake easily. You're going to start DeAndre Hopkins. I'm not trusting anyone else in Arizona outside of Kyler Murray. Pretty straightforward game, right?
Yeah. I mean, the only deeper guy that I want to happen is I really need some Chase Edmonds. Maybe they get him a little more involved, but if Kenny Galladay,
look, if they beat the shit out of him, he's going to get in.
Yeah, so I'm looking for that. But if Kenny Galladay doesn't play again, I can't put my finger. I just don't like Marvin Jones, but I know a lot of people do.
John, they were They were handily beating the Washington football team last week, and Chase Edmonds had 3 carries. So I don't even know that is an
He got in on week 1, though.
Yeah, but in an easy victory, he wasn't getting to work while Kenyon Drake had 20 carries for 86 yards. So Edmonds is injury only. That's it. You need a Drake injury for Edmonds to be a thing, which if 2020 tells us anything, it's possible. Don't give up on Edmonds, but don't expect anything from him unless Drake gets hurt. Moving on, Tampa Bay Buccaneers head to Empower Field at Mile High Stadium. First time I read that. That sounds daunting. To face Jeff Driscoll led Denver Broncos.
Blake Bortles.
Oh, the boat.
Chad Kelly.
Swag. He's an Indy, isn't he?
No, I think he's number 2 now. I think he came back.
Bortles.
But Bortles got to stay in the bubble for like 6 days. He can't even practice till like Friday.
Oh man, what a world.
Anyway, let's get to this trash heap. Look, Denver lost their starting quarterback. They lost Cortland Sutton. They lost Phillip Lindsay after week 1. They are hurting, and they're not replacing anyone with anybody good, even if Hamler gets in there. You are not trusting any piece of the Jeff Driscoll offense. The thing about Driscoll, though, he does run quite a bit when he has played off and on the last couple of seasons. So you could get some sneaky fantasy points out of Driscoll if you were want to really throw a fucking dart in DFS. Driscoll could get you a couple rushing touchdowns here and at least get you, maybe 40 yards on the ground because he is not opposed to taking off with the ball if the situation arises. Tampa should beat the shit out of him. Fournette, we mentioned earlier, Fournette's finally clicking on our last episode. Got to assume Arian's going to keep riding them. They're going to go up there and beat the hell out of Denver. They're a 6-point favorite on the road in Denver, which is pretty substantial when you think about what you normally see up there. I just Denver can't overcome these injuries. At wide receiver, Godwin is expected to be back. I like him to have a massive game. He's in contention for wide receiver 1 this week. Fournette should be leaned on heavily. I think Mike Evans kind of fades a little bit this week after what we saw from him last week. I'm not expecting anything. A tight end not named Gronk should have a decent day. But, yeah, Denver, no thank you. They got too many moving pieces this week. And don't forget, it's not like Melvin Gordon's not known to get himself a little injured. And they were saying he was struggling with the altitude. So now he's back home dealing with the altitude. You could see some Royce Freeman, which is disgusting.
I like Royce Freeman. No, a lot of people don't like Royce Freeman. I do like Royce Freeman, but Lindsay will be back before we know it. I don't think it's going to matter in this game because I would think more than +6, honestly. But yeah, not that I think Drew Lock would win the game for them, but now they're going to their backup quarterback. I wasn't impressed by Tampa Bay against Carolina, to be totally candid with you. Denver's not world beaters, but they got a decent defense. At the end of the day, I just don't think they're going to be able to hang with Tampa Bay. Their run defense is stout. I think they're going to be able to bottle up Melvin Gordon. Leonard Fournette claimed this Buccaneers backfield last week, as I said he would. He's going to put another RB1 game on the ledger this week against the Broncos because he's going to get the volume this week. He's going to get the 15-plus carries because they're going to be ahead and running Leonard Fournette. He could see 18 carries at the end of the game, maybe 20 touches. I think 120 yards and a touchdown is easily attainable for Lenny in his revenge tour. You were referencing Jeff Driscoll. I agree with you. He brings a little bit with the legs, and he is just reckless. He's a gunslinger. He's not afraid to cut it loose. And I think that opens up my boy KJ Hamler. I think you kind of shit on him a little bit when you were talking about him. But now that Sutton's out of the way, being shelved for the season, Hamler is out there to run those goes. I think there's something that could pop here. So a sneaky deep DFS play with Hamler.
I'm telling you. Yep.
There's something to be had there. So I'm there. Tampa covers. Getting Godwin back. I missed him in just about every league because I have him everywhere last week. So I'm excited to plop him back in my lineup. I'm with you. I think 100 yards probably a touchdown is coming for Godwin. Brady missed him having to force feed Mike Evans for the week that he was out and looking at Justin Watson and Scotty Miller far too much. So, yeah, get right with the world. Let's make it a Godwin and Leonard Fournette focus for those Tampa Bay Buccaneers in week 3 and an easy win. The last Sunday game, Sunday Night Football, the Green Bay Packers head to New Orleans, fresh off a loss on Monday Night Football to the Las Vegas Raiders. They get a Sunday Night Football game at the Mercedes-Benz Superdome. And I said, this is Aaron Jones versus Alvin Kamara for the battle of the best back in the biz right now.
Like it. Total of 40, kind of moves around between 43 and 41, depending on where you're looking. Saints are a home favorite of 3. It opened at 6.5, but I'm assuming that was before they really looked like shit against the Raiders. I like Green Bay to win this again. New Orleans looks really out of whack without Michael Thomas in there. So I think they're trying to figure things out and what works and what they're going to do without having him to lean on. And he's going to be out for a couple more weeks, it sounds like. So we could see the Saints really look terrible for a little stretch here till Thomas gets back in there. You had mentioned Alvin Kamara, and they're going to have to lean on him heavily in this one. And luckily, he's up for the job. So I think we see a ton of points from Kamara and from Aaron Jones on the Green Bay side. Devontae Adams, is he officially out yet? Do we know anything official?
I think he's okay. I think the game was in hand. He was what I read was he was back on the sidelines, holding his helmet or something like that, with his helmet off. Like I think it was precautionary, not as significant because they didn't need him.
So especially if he's back, I think Green Bay can win this one easily. I mean, he's going to get Lattimore, and it's going to create a problem. But Aaron Rodgers seems to like Lazard and Valdez-Scantling, so if he's covered, he's not going to have a problem pivoting. I actually got a sneaky one here. Robert Tonyan gets in the end zone this week. But, I think Green Bay actually wins, and I don't think it's particularly close. I think it'll be close early, but I think Green Bay ends up running away with this towards the end. I think the Saints are just out of sorts.
Yeah, I knew you were going to say Robert Tonyan after what Darren Waller just did to these New Orleans Saints. The Green Bay Packers don't possess that caliber of tight end at present. Well, they do. They just don't know it in Jay Sternberger. But we'll save that conversation for a later time. It was all Alvin Kamara and nothing else. I mean, Manny Sanders, I don't believe, had a catch. Traquan Smith did well enough, but they were using like Tommy Lee Lewis and Adam Troutman and Taysom Hill, and they were just trying, everything they could. But it was literally Alvin Kamara or bust. And Ryan Clark was on Twitter saying that Drew Brees looked old, and his arm didn't look good, and couldn't push the ball down the field. And I agree with all of that. Like, dink and dunk ain't getting it done because Aaron Rodgers looked young and spry and ready to cut it loose and pissed off. And this Packers team looks good. And Aaron Jones is every bit the explosive element that Alvin Kamara is for an offense. So, cross each other out. What else you got in New Orleans? You got Jared Cook. Okay, Jared Cook's he's a plus. We got Devontae Adams. We got you there. Okay, what else you bringing to the table? The ancillary pieces kind of cross each other out. Well, Aaron Rodgers is better than Drew Brees right now. So maybe you give a slight edge to the Saints defense and they're at home. It's going to be a good game. I'm with you. I mean, Green Bay's clicking right now, and the Saints just didn't look good against the Las Vegas Raiders, who are an inferior team. So there's always magic at the Superdome, but I'm kind of there with you. I don't think there's any fringe here. I'm not rolling out Robert Tonyan. I appreciate the bold prediction on the touchdown, but I think this is pretty straightforward. I think there's really not. I'd be starting Traquan Smith. I'm there with you because they're going to need to get points in this game, and I think Traquan Smith is going to be the beneficiary. I'm not going to – Manny Sanders, he's not clicking with Drew Brees.
Terrible too, yeah.
So go get – if Traquan Smith's sitting out there, you can start him this week. Moving on to the game of the year. And look at the rest of the schedule. But this is it. Kansas City heads east to M&T Bank Stadium to face off against the Baltimore Ravens on Monday Night Football. There's really nothing to talk about here, John. There's really
No,
not. Tell me about the stats, just so everyone knows.
Total's 53.5. Baltimore is a 3 or 3.5 point favorite. Obviously, both teams are projected to score a ton. Baltimore 28 and the Chiefs 25. You'd mentioned earlier, I think, or maybe even been on the last episode, about how the Chiefs don't necessarily look right so far. I think it's a game for them to get right. Not that I think Baltimore's defense is a pushover, but I think both teams may have been looking ahead to this game last week. So I think coming into this, I think they're both going to play a really good game, and I think the Chiefs will get their shit together, for lack of a better term, get clicking. I think you had mentioned you've got some Mahomes, Tyreek Hill stacks that have let you down a little bit. I think Hill has a pretty decent game here. I think Mahomes does what Mahomes does. I don't think it's going to be, monster performance. I'm not looking for 404, but I think he, goes over 300, gets his 3 touchdowns. I think Lamar Jackson finds a couple deep passes. This could be where we see Hollywood Brown finally pop for a big play. And Jackson obviously does a lot with his legs. But we said before at Baltimore that they get the ball spread around so much, it's hard to really rely on anybody on any given week. But anyone you have on both these teams is playing. There's really nothing, no groundbreaking analysis anyone's going to give you here.
Yeah, don't get too deep and wide here. That's the game. Just enjoy the game. Start the studs and enjoy the Monday Night Football game. This is definitely going to be a fireworks game. I will pick your brain on something on air here. I happen to have a unreasonable amount of Lamar Jackson and Kyler Murray in one quarterback leagues on the same team. I've started Lamar Jackson both weeks so far, as I think anyone would have done through 2 weeks. And through 2 weeks, I've been wrong. Kyler Murray has been the one who scored more points. Well, Kyler Murray is home against the Detroit Lions in week 3, and Lamar Jackson is home against the Kansas City Chiefs in week 3. Who are you starting?
It's easy for me.
Elements.
It's easy for me because of just how I like to pick my starting lineups. I don't like having to wait for Monday night to figure out what's going to happen. So if I have 2 relatively equal choices like this, then I go with the guy who's playing Sunday. But it's more likely for this to turn into a shootout and Jackson needing to have a big game. So, I mean, if you're putting my feet to the fire, I would actually say Jackson this week because the Cardinals can run over Detroit and then, turn the ball over to the running game early, and Murray can kind of have a pedestrian day, whereas Baltimore is going to have to keep their foot on the gas all game to hang in there with Kansas City.
That's an interesting philosophy, John. I'm more of the mindset of if all things considered equal, I'd rather have a bullet in the chamber late than be sitting defensive as points come at me, hoping to withstand it. See, I go the opposite way. I'm like, if I think they're the exact same, I'd much rather have the Monday night guy. But
if you go back through years of playing in leagues together, you will see very few Thursday and Monday players.
That's heavy when the clock starts. Yeah, I'm probably sticking Lamar Jackson.
Thursday and Monday are almost never.
I think there's no way this is a defensive battle. I just don't see it. I mean, the high implied total, like you said, they're looking forward to this. The way that these teams are structured, like they want to impose their will. Points are going to be scored. It's Monday Night Football. All eyes are on this game. I'm going to stick with it, and I do believe Arizona just boat races the Lions and might pull back a little bit. I'm telling you, even though that has a high implied total as well, they're both sitting high totals. As Arizona is actually a bigger favorite, which would lend you to believe that Kyler Murray is going to be the beneficiary of more points likely by his arm and legs. So
yes,
I'm in a pickle, Jonathan. But it seems like there's one. It's like
it's a good one really to be in.
There's no wrong answer. There's just a righter answer at the end of the day. So luckily, it hasn't hurt me yet. All right, we're quickly going to do Thursday night bowl predictions, and then we're going to get out of here because we have been going long, and it's all said and done. And it's the Miami Dolphins head to Duval to face off against Gardner Minshew and these Jacksonville Jaguars at TIAA Bank Field.
Oh, boy. Yeah. No, thank you. Thursday's not interested. 48 is the total. A little higher than I would have guessed. Jacksonville is a 3-point favorite at home, keeping it in Florida. Bold prediction from me. DJ Chark goes for over 102 touchdowns. I don't know how bold that is, but 102 for our man Chark with Mustache Mania firing in the ball.
Gotcha. I like this, and I just wrote Jacksonville is by far the best fantasy options in this game. And who would have? I mean, you just think about it. I saw a tweet. It was a while back that when people were saying, "Does Jacksonville really have the worst team in the NFL?" And they were just comparing them against the Jets, because everyone just was like, "Is Jacksonville really tanking?" When you're like comparing like this offensive talent, I was like, I like this game. I'm like, nah, they got talent. Laviska Shenault, 100 total yards and a touchdown in this game. I also think James Robinson is a start. I am starting him in my league of record over Todd Gurley, and I'm super comfortable doing it this week. He is the bell cow in this offense. I believe 80 and a touchdown is probably realistic for him. And until further notice, James Robinson's the RB2 in that league for me. Todd Gurley, earn your way back in.
That's fair. I got another bold one. I just want to throw one out before we get out of here. My guy, Isaiah Ford, gets over 100 yards in this game.
Like it.
So that should do it. That will wrap up our week 3 preview. We will go through this again next week to do our hits and misses, wins and losses, whatever you want to call it. So thanks for checking us out. For myself, John Dabari, my co-host Matt Walker, and literally missing in the mountains, Mr. Andrew Burke. We are the Fantasy 40, and we are out.
Ow! All right. And the thing, man, after 2 o'clock. Oh, I thought you froze there. It was an abrupt stop to the Brian. Christ almighty, I've never felt such an abrupt stop to a statement before.
And I got the other screen up, so I can't see what's happening. He freeze?
Wow. All right. I was like, did he freeze? Was that it? Okay. Yeah. That'd be a good outtake. All right.